Well, guys, communism sucks. Especially if you enjoy simple Western pleasures like food or running water. But the guns the communists made were actually pretty damn cool. I always thought that the Polytech AKS was one of the sexiest guns ever made. But so does everybody else. So I guess I'm just gonna have to settle for some other commie blaster. Sometime in the mid-1950s, the Chinese Communist Party clicked up with the Soviet Union and subsequently began copying their homework, producing their own domestic copies of the SKS carbine, AK-47, and RPD light machine gun.
Oh yeah.
They then spent the next 50 plus years producing millions of these weapons, shipping them to conflict zones across the globe. Of all the different SKS variants, I feel like the Chinese Type 56 is the one that I'm used to seeing most often in my local gun shops. But more often than not, they have terrible modifications done to them, and the bayonets are missing. When it comes to military surplus guns, I feel like I always gravitate towards the ones that have the most honest wear on them. I guess I'm just a fan of the whole battlefield pickup aesthetic. This gun definitely has some aura to it for sure. It definitely walked the walk. Somebody definitely rode it hard and put it up wet. You can tell, you know, there are cracks on it. Hell, I think it's even cracking right here at the recoil lug. Scratches, dings, wear marks, rust pitting, the whole 9 yards. You know, this thing was used. And we'll get to that in a minute. If you had told me some Viet Cong dude had, you know, drugged this around through the jungle, I would have believed you, right? But when I picked this thing up initially and looked at it, I noticed there was a name carved into the stock. Artan. Because it's got a little accent above this A here. Can't really read the last name though, unfortunately. I typed this name into Google and it came up that it was an ethnic Albanian first name. Albanian name on a Chinese SKS. There's also a 53 in the safety cutout in the stock. There's this weird marking that looks like something, not really sure what. And on this side of the stock, there's another year, 1990 or maybe 1999, and the extra part of the 9 is gone. And then over here, it looks like somebody had, you know, something jammed into the stock maybe, or maybe somebody tried to take a hole saw to it for some reason. Not really sure what that is about. Through some quick Google research, I was able to discover that the Albanians and the Soviets stopped collaborating in the early 60s. And instead, Albania decided to align themselves with Red China. And China, in turn, you know, decided to give them some weapons as military aid.
I got some jelly beans. You like jelly beans?
Eventually, in 1962, China helped them set up their own production line for SKS rifles, and that's when you start seeing the strange Albanian variant of the SKS that has the hooked charging handle and the super long upper wooden handguard. So all I can really do is speculate that this thing came from Albania. Just another piece of evidence that I guess I can show is the date of production for this gun. There's a guy on YouTube, his channel name is Triangle26, and this dude's whole channel is just a wealth of information about SKS rifles, not just Chinese, but, you know, he does talk a lot about Chinese SKS specifically. And he has a really good video about how to use the serial number on your rifle to determine its date of manufacture. Through using his method, I was able to determine that this gun was produced in 1969, which was like, you know, right on the cusp of whenever China was going to stop giving war aid to Albania. So in 1972, President Richard Nixon took a diplomatic trip to China, and he was pretty well received. But this whole ordeal pissed off the Prime Minister of Albania, Enver Hoxha, who was a hardline anti-capitalist and saw this whole move as an opportunistic betrayal of communist values by the Chinese. Alright, enough yapping about history. Let's get back to the shooting.
Stand by.
So maybe I'm a bit of a masochist, but I've always really enjoyed the manual of arms when it comes to the SKS. Using these big 10-round stripper clips requires a little bit more care and finesse than something with a detachable box magazine like an AR or an AK. I think it all boils down to what clips you're using. If you're using legit military surplus ones, you'll usually have a pretty good time. But if you happen to have the NC Star Chinese reproduction clips, those are the ones you have to look out for, because those are the ones that don't really work very well. They don't hold the rounds well, and it seems like the rounds want to fall out when you're trying to strip them into the gun. Maybe I can demonstrate my point by just showing you what I'm talking about. When I got all these NC Star clips, I thought surely I'd be set for life, but whenever I saw how loosely they held the rounds, I just knew it was going to be a problem. And it is, because when you try to strip them into the gun, they want to turn every which way, and it just turns into a super crunchy reload. Rounds fly out sometimes. It's just not very good. They work, but not well and not consistently. Military surplus clips, on the other hand, are like a night and day difference. The ones that I'm showing now came preloaded with Yugoslavian M67 ball ammunition. And they hold the rims of the rounds tightly. They strip off extremely well in one fluid motion. I can reload with 2 Yugo clips in the time it takes me to reload with 1 NC Star clip. So I think my newfound appreciation for the SKS was pretty much birthed out of my desire to purchase another AK. I had one before, but I ended up selling it to a buddy. And I don't necessarily regret it, but I do miss that gun a lot. However, 7.62x39 is nowhere near as cheap as it used to be.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
The 10-round magazine of my SKS just encourages me to pay more attention to my marksmanship, rather than the speed at which I can mag dump into trash. This also saves money.
All these racks give me a boner.
Well, that's really all I have for you on the old Type 56 SKS. This won't be the last time it'll show up on the channel, but this video's been a long time coming, and I'm looking forward to focusing on something else. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe for more schizophrenic bullshit.